Hey Google, what are you playing?
This is Loka Samastar Sukino Bavantu by Jane Winther.
Hi, this is Witch Nikki. Have you ever had one of those days where you just can't decide what you want to do? You want to do this or that or whatever. I think it's kind of one of the drawbacks that I have of having so many different things that I want to do and that I do have to the ready to do anything. I have so many things that I could do, and I just maybe feel so overwhelmed right now. I think it's okay. I know it's okay to just sit and think and breathe. And I am here for you, whoever you are, and whatever you need. Of course, not money. Sorry. I mean emotionally. As a friend, as a human being who's going through a lot of what other people are going through. I'm just trying not to get too overly emotional, but I just can't help it. That's all I have. That's all I have in my feelings right now, in my feelings cache of just overwhelmed despair at the moment, and it comes and goes, and it comes and it goes, and it's really just so hard. There's so many people I want to reach out to, and just people that are not responding back to me for whatever reason. I don't mean that people that I've reached out to recently and then they just haven't taken a day or two. No, this is like some people that I've known for a long time, part of my family, and my family members that do not respond to me. And I'm sure that they are okay. And I'm thinking that they are reaching out and talking to other people. It's really hard to go through what we're all going through and have people closest to me, family members, that don't understand. And people who are in my family who fully understand and still keep their distance. And this has been going on since before COVID. It's been going on since before 2016. It's been going on for around that amount of time. I don't have to tell you during that year what has happened to make people distant from me. But it's just ridiculous. But you need to see the mentality that I'm talking about here. That all of a sudden, here comes this person. I will at least acknowledge that he is a person. He's a human being that has come into the United States in the most highest rank that we have in the United States, which is called president. And he has just been one mistake after another. Why are there so many people following him? Not just following him, like, like go on Facebook, I think I'll follow this person. No, believing everything that he says. Everything that comes out of his mouth, people are believing. That kind of following. And it's dangerous. Just because nobody on the internet today who's alive and under, let's say under 50, all of you people, all of you folks, everybody over 50 definitely has heard of Hitler. And I know that there's people under 50 who haven't heard of Hitler. But because you didn't see what he caused in your lifetime, does not mean that you don't have to believe that it happened. Can't you see that what is happening right now in America is almost exactly like what happened with Hitler, the Nazis, and the Jewish people who were put to death for just being them? This is so wrong. Okay. We have a backyard with a wall on all 3 sides, and plus the front gates. Towards the rear wall, we have on the other side 1.5 houses, or a portion of, so like there's one and then 2 portions of 2 other houses, and then right between, we're in between 2 more houses on both sides. Well, since the quarantine, lockdown, whatever you prefer to call it, we've had an abundance of people doing home repairs and gardening and everything. People out in the yards, things that normally our dogs don't hear or listen to or don't see, that kind of stuff going on. So they're all in some kind of tizzy right now because there's some people doing some tree trimming in one of the yards connected to ours, or around the circumference of it. So they bark, and it's just gonna have to be something that we put up with. So basically, after I paused, I took a couple of deep breaths, so I'm feeling like can kind of go on now, I think. It's so hard to realize that there's just people out there following the things that Trump says. Okay, so yeah, it's really hard to make it through all of this when family members won't talk to me, communicate with me. I'm doing okay, but there's just sometimes where I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done, and not done with life. I just mean I'm done with all the bullshit. I'm just done with it. It's really hard to understand this business that I was saying about Hitler. And if you don't know anything about him because it hasn't been spoken to you yet in school, I'm pretty sure even my granddaughter Ginger, who's 11, knows something, even though they haven't really brought it up yet. They're still talking about kind of ancient history instead of a little bit more contemporary, modern history. So, okay, so, all right. It is what it is. She's learning something, and but maybe it's to tell people, hey, this is where the first civilization started in Iraq, in parts of Africa. In those areas was Fertile Crescent in parts of China. And so this area was really good for growing crops and things like that. That's what I'm learning in the history of that, what Ginger's learning right now. And it's kind of interesting because I don't even know if we were taught this kind of stuff. We were mostly taught about the cavemen, the different how men evolved from apes and came up to men and evolved. Okay, so with Ginger stuff that she's learning, I feel like I don't know exactly when all of this information got put into the social studies book, but this is what they call it nowadays. We used to call it just history, and they call it social studies or social science or whatever. So yeah, it's really not too much different, really, other than that Hitler was German. Trump is American. Okay, so, and that was happening back in the 1920s, 30s. This is happening currently now. And no, Trump has not gathered people of any particular race, or has he gathered them, taking them to concentration camps or internment camps, sorry. Or has he? He blames it on Obama. Now, whether or not I need to probably do some fact checking, but I really don't think so, because it's nothing that I heard so prominently in the news since 2016. During 9/11, I kind of stopped listening and reading news. I just backed the heck away from it because it was so terrible. And it's just seems like it got worse and worse and worse. And during 2016, all we had in the news, almost every day, interrupting us since from then to 2020, interrupting our daytime programs, was Trump and this, Trump and that, and Trump and this, and Trump and that. Okay, and I turn it off. You can't call me that or ask me, are you left or are you right? I'm just a human being without that kind of affiliation. Okay? Now, I lean towards my own core beliefs. And if that makes me one way or another more than some people, or along with other people, or whatever, well, that was just accidental, coincidental, okay? Because I'm an American citizen. I am descended from Irish, like many millions of people in the United States have come from somewhere in Europe. But I also have Cherokee blood. And so it really, 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 really bothers me when this kind of stuff is going on here. History is just, it's sad and pathetic. There's a lot of wrongs going on. But you would think after this movement or this movement or this movement, people would say, okay, and people would say, okay, this is wrong. We need to change it. That's wrong. We need to change it. Okay? But there's still so much of these wrong things. You see, I'm trying not to get really political in it, naming names of groups and stuff like that. But we've had movements like this that we've had, for Black Lives Matter. We had Black Panthers. Sorry, it's been a long time. And years before that, we had other groups up there marching and saying this is wrong. The way that people of color were getting treated in America during the 60s. And I still remember it in the 70s. And here it is, like every year, every 10 years, all these years between the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, we're still seeing racism. We're still seeing bigotry. Now, racism and bigotry are kind of the same and kind of different. This is from my perspective of what I think. And if I'm wrong, I'll probably find it out later on. But I've always kind of thought of it this way, that bigotry is kind of at how people feel against certain groups that they don't associate with and they don't know anything about. It kind of covers things like gay rights. I first kind of started hearing bigotry around that time when gays were coming out more and more, because back in the 60s, we didn't hear nothing. We didn't even hear the word gay. And stuff like that. We didn't hear stuff like that. Okay? Racism more or less deals with race. Okay? Bigotry, I don't know if I could think of any other examples about bigotry, but it's bad. It's really bad. To be thinking that maybe that also, I don't know. I just know that that both of these words, bigotry and racism, they're just bad. And that racism, of course, deals more with racial issues. And sexism is about between men and women, and being sexist is like when you put down a woman and treat men better, and in one way, in a lot of ways, and treat women like dirt, basically. So we still see and hear, and you could tell, just because I don't know what these things are, it really mostly proves that I've sheltered myself from these things. I still remember in the 6th grade, so I was the same age that Ginger is now. In the 6th grade, we're given a test, sort of a test. It's more like a quiz. And in this quiz, it was asking if we knew certain words, basically yes or no, or it would give a word like racism, and it would ask, would it give like different answers that we could choose, multiple choice, and racism, and so many other words that I, as a child, growing up in the household that I was grown up in, I felt like I was sheltered pretty much because I didn't understand any of those words. But there was some of them later on when I found out what they meant. I always thought to myself, that's how my stepdad is. Ugh. And thinking back on some of the things that he said and stuff that he said about African American people. Of course, he didn't call them that. And I didn't like what he did call them, even as a child. I just didn't like the sound of it. I didn't like him using it. But when you're a child, and sometimes you fear your adults in your life, as I remember sometimes he'd come home and he'd be drunk or had been drinking and came home, and he would look for anybody to get in his way. And there would be times where I'd just get out of the way. I'd run and climb up a tree if I wasn't busy doing something around the house. And I'd stay up there in that tree for a long time. And I didn't let his ways affect me. I heard it. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop him from the things he said. And my brother, too. My oldest brother, who was in and out of the home quite often. He'd go and he'd join the Navy. He'd come home, and he'd come around for holidays and Thanksgiving and Christmas sometimes and stuff like that. And go live on his own and stuff. Well, I grew up with all that stuff, but I got into the 6th grade, and then I started learning, oh, this stuff, this, yeah. I don't know what all of it means exactly, but I've heard this kind of stuff going on in my family. And I still today don't understand why they were asking us what we knew about these things, these words and stuff. Maybe they just wanted to see how many was being affected by it. And just because we didn't hear anything doesn't mean that it wasn't happening. Like I said, I just didn't know any of that was happening. I mean, I saw it happening in my house, but I didn't know there's a name for this. I just thought my dad was a dick. He was an idiot. And I didn't know that it was widespread, that there was like you're talking about all white people are like this? What? So many times I just didn't want to be classified as being white anymore. And so I would, something that was hidden from me, and that's part of racism too, sort of, is that my mom hid from us that we have Cherokee. She hid it because she got beaten for trying to speak a little bit of it with her brother, who's my uncle. And they tried speaking it after my grandmother. My grandmother died before I was even born. My mom was about 5, between 4 and 5, when my grandma died. Sorry. So, yeah, then my grandpa remarried a German woman who did not like them speaking Cherokee or any other language. They could have been speaking Chinese or Japanese or Spanish or anything, and she just wasn't like that. She wanted them to speak English. And speaking a tongue that came from savages was just something that was unheard of. You were just, don't do that. My mom would even say, and this is something that she didn't tell me until I was already grown up, that she confided in me, that she did not want me to have to go through the same kind of thing. And I don't know if I appreciate that or not. I'm not saying I wanted to get beat up for being Cherokee in a white man's world, but maybe I would have like knowing my traditions when I was growing up. Because so much when I was a kid, I didn't think we had any traditions other than whatever, Easter, Christmas, Valentine's Day. My mom just kind of followed everything that she knew all of her life, I guess, and didn't even really know any of the meanings behind any of these holidays. And she was raised Christian, I guess, of some kind, and then she got baptized in the Mormon church because at the time, my younger brother, now is my middle brother. I have, after that time, 3 brothers, an older one, a middle, and my last brother. And the middle brother went on to become Mormon, and he seemed like he was the hero of the family, an overachiever of the church. He went forth and learned how to do all the Mormon-y things to do. Canning fruit, canning vegetables, growing fruit, growing vegetables, his own carpentry. He was pretty much the hero child of our group. My older brother was more or less the clown of the family. And I didn't really have too much of a label too much for my younger brother. But he kind of gave support to my mom. And she was an enabler of my dad, who was the alcoholic in our family. And you don't always just have to have alcoholism. You could have other kind of drugs or mental issues or whatever. But combine that with racist, bigot, alcoholic. He was just, in my eyes, somebody I just like. So how did I have that? Like, this is wrong. Keep him and everything away. How do I have that knowledge to keep that kind of a person away from me? But most of the country out here, everybody who voted for Trump is worshiping the ground he walks on. Would lick the toilet bowl after he shit in it. Okay? How do they not have whatever it is that I have? And I grew up surrounded by this racism that they told me about in the 6th grade. I finally learned that I was growing up in a racist family. And after, I don't know, years and years, I was out of high school when I started hearing the word dysfunctional family. And I was like, oh my God. So I have racist, I have bigotry, alcoholic, and a dysfunctional family. Oh my God. So how am I? I'm not saying that I'm perfect and that I'm okay. Because there is things that I was affected by all these years and didn't really realize it. So now, I am who I am, but I'm not a racist. And just because I don't maybe know enough of the definition of bigot or bigotry doesn't mean that I am one. I know what I'm not. Here we go. I'll ask Google. Hey Google, what is bigotry?
Bigotry is used as a noun to mean obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction. In particular, prejudice against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group, similarly to bias and partiality. Do you want to hear bigotry used in a sentence?
No, thank you. Pretty much what I would.
Sure.
Pretty much what I was saying. People and their other thoughts. Like without even really knowing who or what they're about, or fearing it because you don't know what it's about. Long before I was born, gay people were treated like they were crazy. And during the time that, like I said, when I was growing up, we didn't really hear about anybody being gay. I think I might have heard the word gay, but we used, back in those days, we did kind of use gay like fun, happy type of a thing. And then in school I heard boys and stuff, oh, that's gay, you're gay, or whatever, and stuff like that. And I didn't know who they were talking about, but they were kind of like talking about each other, and making fun of each other and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was pretty right on about that definition. I like to make sure, and there's nothing wrong with asking Google. Sometimes if I mention Google, then she starts up. So, I did grow up in a bigotry riddled and racist riddled household, and I didn't let it touch me, affect me, or change me into something like that. So I know that there's people out there who can you just gotta have it in your head, this is not the way to be. And if you don't have it in your head, it kind of just makes me wonder, what the hell is going through your mind that makes you think that treating people bad, bullying people, beating people, killing and murdering people because of their beliefs or their race is something they cannot change, and their beliefs are something that they should not have to change. Once you have a belief, it's yours. It's your journey in this world, and nobody should take it away, or even try to take it away, or tell you it's wrong for how you believe or what you believe. It is just wrong. Can't you, those of you who think differently about something, can't you just leave that group, whatever group it is, alone, and stay within your own circle of friends? That sounds like a really good idea. But no. You got people out there now today who are trying so hard to force their beliefs onto everybody else. And if you don't start accepting what they're saying is the gospel and all these conspiracy theories and the beliefs that the only way to win back their votes is to tear down things and break things and murder people. How terribly wrong that is. And how come I have that thought that it's wrong. Okay. So how come sometimes I feel like it's just me against the rest of the world, or the rest of the United States? I know that there's other people like me. And still here I sit making this video, hoping that there'll be other people out there who will just wake up and see, God, what the hell what was I thinking? The other day, I think I was going to say this before but got interrupted or something, but the other day, my daughter told Ginger, who's 11, like I said, she told her about the emperor's new clothes. Ginger had never heard that fable before. But you should know. And if not, it's kind of basically about an emperor who wanted some new clothes. He was tired of all his old attire and clothes and everything. So he got a dressmaker, and a couple of them, I think. And he asked them to make new clothes for him. Well, these two, they just wanted the money. And they didn't really have the know-how, but they just heard it was like a lot of money involved in making this emperor's new clothes. So they put together an idea. They were going to scam this emperor, and they were going to make him some clothes that only smart people, intelligent people could see. So they made him absolutely nothing. But they told him, they put it on him, clothes that you just could not see unless you were smart and intelligent. So he's putting on these clothes, and he's standing there naked. Maybe just in his underwear, if they had that back then. In the books that I saw, it was just like long underwear, because they didn't want to show a naked man standing there. Thank you very much. So that the king said, the emperor, he says, I don't see anything. And they said, well, look again, because only really intelligent people can see this clothes. So you might need to look at it a little bit closer. So he did. And he started telling all the other people in the village and everywhere, all of his people, he said, because they were saying, I don't see anything. And he goes, oh, well, only the really intelligent people can see these new clothes. And so, of course, people didn't want to be idiots. So they said, oh, yeah, wow, that's amazing. So he said, okay, I want to have this parade my new clothes through the streets. And everybody who is intelligent is, of course, saying, oh, wow, that's amazing. Wonderful clothes, Emperor. And really believing that's what they saw, was wonderful clothes tailored by these two scam artists who, I believe, took their money and ran. Or tried to. It's been a long time since I've been a kid listening to this story. So here's this little boy, and he says, the emperor is not wearing anything. So a lot of people realize that a little boy would just be innocent, and he really wouldn't have a chance to become intelligent, but he was just pure and purely saying, I don't see anything. He's naked. So everybody started, yeah, you're naked. they started realizing it. So maybe that's what we need, is one child or a bunch of children to get up and say, Mr. Trump, you're not behaving in a dignified manner. You're being a racist. You're a bigot. You need to leave. We don't want you anymore. President Biden won fair and square. And when you win, you're the winner. And when you lose, you're the loser. That's it. It's no big deal. It really isn't. But we're such a society these days, and for a long time, as long as I can remember, competition has been the biggest thing ever. That's so important. If you lose, boo-hoo, oh my God, you're a loser. Such a negative thing. Why don't we just say, you didn't win, okay? And you did win. You won. You didn't win. Then he's not like a loser. He's just somebody who didn't win. Okay? Because we had votes, and it was only because of what he said that said everybody cheated. Just like a kid playing a game. You cheated. Throw the board game away. Okay? That's what's going on. He's a sore loser. Or he's the person who didn't win. And he's not taking it very well at all. Oh well. Boo-hoo. You had 4 years. That's more than anybody gets. Okay? You were given a chance. And yes, in 2016, there was a lot of people that were saying, he's not my president. I was one of them. He's not my president. What I'm saying is, of course, he's the president, but he's not my president. I didn't vote for him. Okay? He was the president. He gave it a shot. And that's that. He didn't do so good. He didn't do good at all. And look at the way things have gone recently. It's terrible. And it's really way past time to give peace a chance. It's time to say, that's enough. Goodbye. Thank you for your service. Adios. Go. Next. Biden. Okay? Now, like I said before, I'm not left, I'm not right. I'm just in the middle. I'm just a human being in America who's trying to live through all of this misbehavior and terrible stuff that's going on here. We got the virus. We got flus coming and going. We got people out of work. We got people who have homes and people who've got jobs and beautiful cars who are saying how much all of us are supposed to be getting in those stimulus checks. Thank you very much for sending us apology money. I appreciate it, Mr. President. But still, what you and your boys did the other day to the Capitol building was a terrorist attack, and you all need to pay for it. You need to be put in jail, prison, wherever. 20 years, I hear, is what the going time is that you get to go for doing something like that. Now, maybe he just was saying, and I doubt it, we need to fight this thing. We need to continue the fight. And a bunch of followers thought he actually meant getting physical, tearing up. But I don't think so. Because when you think about it, look at every time we've ever had any kind of disaster like this or anything. If a police officer or somebody really important gets shot, the flags come down to half-mast. What about the flag in front of the White House? Okay. Every time that we have had shootings in schools and nightclubs, movie theaters, and wherever else they decide to shoot up, we have, like, almost the day after, we have lists of all the people who died. Okay? Where's those lists now? For 5 people. Most of whom were followers and trespassers and terrorists, part of the attack. Okay? So, only from what I've heard or gathered that one was a police officer who sustained injuries and died. And the rest of the people, if you go places and do things you shouldn't do, you're gonna get in trouble. Some lady coming out crying that they sprayed her with mace. Well, I'm sorry. But if you turn on your fire on the stove and then you put your hand on top of the fire, on top of your stove, you're gonna get burnt. Don't come out crying, I turned the stove on and I put my hand on top of the fire and I got burned. What the hell? What did she expect was gonna happen? I got maced. Ugh. Isn't there anybody out there who sees the irony in that? And now some people are saying that she used the onion to rub in her own face to make her get all crying and stuff like that. Well, whether she did or whether she didn't, the thing is, if she was going to get in there, all of that, she was either going to get maced or she was going to get gas bombed stuff coming all around on both sides. They were doing that. She's lucky she walked away with her own 2 legs. Okay. So I'm going to end now this little rant, or whatever you want to call it, by saying someone won and someone lost. But we don't need to divide the country because of it. It's just wrong. And as far as bigotry and racism and sexism and all of this isms go, all of that needs to stop too. No matter where you are in the ranks, someone like me, teacher, police officer, judges. When you take an oath to protect and serve all the people, that means all the people, period. It doesn't mean that it means only the people of the same color skin that you have. It means all the people. So think about that. And if I grew up in a family that was racist and full of bigotry and made it out alive, and I was harmed in that family, I won't go into all of those details right now either, but if I made it out and haven't turned into any of those things that happened to me in there, or come out covered with bigotry and racism all over me, then you can do it too. At any point of your life, all you have to say is, this person is this person, and that's the way they are. I am who I am, and knowing that they exist is okay. I say that every day about a lot of people that I really don't understand. I don't understand Christians most of the time, but I accept them. Maybe not close to me, and just because I don't friend a lot of Christian people doesn't mean that I hate them. It just means that most of the time when they find out that I'm a witch, I'm somebody they can't tolerate. So when I find that out by being around them enough that I'm somebody that they want to try to change, I just say, no. But there are really good Christian people out there who have been very nice to me, and I appreciate that. But I'm just using that as one little excuse. I'm not a bigot. I don't think that all Christian people are bad. I've just met a few more than I really can tolerate who have treated me bad, who have begged me to save my soul. I'm sorry, but my soul doesn't need saving. I'm much more a better person than some of them are because they're racist. Some of them that I've met, some of them who've told me that being a witch is terrible and that I need to change my ways or I'm going to burn in hell. I'm sorry, they already burnt me once. I rose up from the ashes. Believe it or not, I don't care. This is my journey. It's my life. Nobody tells you what you believe about yourself is right or wrong. And if they do, walk away from it. Walk away from it. Okay, so almost getting up there to an hour of me rambling on and on and on. But I got to get this stuff out somehow. Thank you. If you've listened to all of this, thumbs up. If not, just walk away. That's it. And even if I do get a thumbs down, I don't care. It's not going to affect me. I put out there what I want to. Everybody else puts out there what they want to, so I put out there what I want to. You could either listen or move on. Thank you. Love y'all.